So that's servicing. We talked brakes. What about repairs? So what's gone wrong? What repairs have you had to do in the 4 years?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, just trying to think what the mileage would have been, about 51,000. The clutch went. What it was on your clutch pressure plate, you've got these kind of sprung fingers around the centre of it. Some of those had broken, so that actually made the clutch feel really light rather than heavy as when most clutches go.
Yeah.
Because you weren't able to apply the same pressure through the spring plate to the pressure plate. So I took that to a local independent that I'd found quite by chance in Aylesbury called DS Automotive.
Another good flipping tip there.
Yeah, to David there. And he's a former Porsche privateer race team mechanic, sort of 20 so years ago. So he replaced the clutch there, just with an OEM Sachs clutch kit. Again, it's the same clutch you'll get from Porsche, but in a Sachs box, not a Porsche box. So it cost me about half the price.
So you don't get the Porsche tax
price
hike.
Yeah, so I think the Sachs clutch kit was, I don't know, 200, 250, whereas from Porsche it would probably easily been double. I also needed a dual mass flywheel, and even though that's made by LUK, like just about every other flywheel is, you cannot get that anywhere except Porsche, and that cost about 900 quid from Porsche, unfortunately. So some people get away by just resurfacing the flywheel, but David at DS Automotive said replace it. And you know, perhaps sometimes I go a bit OTT, but I drive this car hard. I want to treat it as equally well. So if that's what it needed, that's what it got.
Just don't have a race with that car there, the C63 AMG Merc.
But we are going through another tunnel, I think.
Oh no! Well, let's carry on with the repairs. So we've done the clutch, and then what was next?
As a preventative measure, it's well known on these. It is a tunnel. Can we play?
Yes, go on then. We can always edit it out if. Oh, he's doing the same. Following the AMG now. Right, that's childish games.
Yeah, there's no more tunnels.
Okay, so
yeah, so as a preventative measure,
yes.
March last year, March 2020, I had the front crossover coolant pipes and hoses replaced. They'd been dripping very slightly on the last two services, and Matt, had pointed those out. Matt at Porsche Care had pointed those out to me, and this is what I like about Matt at Porsche Care. He didn't advise that I changed them; he just advised that I kept an eye on them. He wax oiled, sealed them, but he did say, probably 2 years hence that they need replacing, and bang on time, as it were, came around to the March 2020 service, and they really did need replacing, and so I got those done by Matt at Porsche Care. Just
let me jump in there quickly. So on my Porsche Boxster 987 Gen 1 that I had, I also got those crossover pipes done. So it must have been that. Mine was 2005.
Yeah.
So that's sort of 10 to 15 year old cars. If you're looking at, that's what you're going to be. Yeah. You're probably going to be faced with that. And I had Lee from Porsche Cotswold Independent Specialist did mine. So a little pump there for Lee. Okay.
Yeah, so I got that done whilst the car was with Matt for general service in 2020 as well. Anyway, and then unfortunately July-ish 2020 the water pump went. So I went to DS Automotive. Not because I wouldn't trust Matt at Porsche Care to do it, but Matt's 80 miles away from me, which is testament to how good he is that I'll do a 160-mile round trip for my servicing. But so I went to David at DS Automotive in Aylesbury, limped the car around there with a leaking water pump, and he replaced it with a Porsche OE part. I would have gone for an aftermarket if something like Meili or Marla did them for the Gen 2s, but they don't seem to. They do seem to do them for the Gen 1s, but not the Gen 2s.
Yeah.
So David recommended a Porsche OE part, and I think for something like a moving mechanical part, like a water pump.
But the water pump, it was just leaking, wasn't it? It hadn't actually failed, had it?
That's right. Yeah. So it was, what I first noticed was just a tiny little sort of 50p size puddle under the car. Would mop that up a couple of days later because it sits in the garage. Fortunately, maybe that would be there again when I next took it out. So I stuck my head under the car and had a look, and I could see dried on pink coolant all under the under tray, where it obviously come out as we're driving along and splattered on and then dried off. So yeah, he changed that. The pump was about 350 quid from Porsche, which if you're a member of Porsche Club GB or TIPEC and you tell Porsche, the Porsche dealership, you remember you'll get a 10% discount on parts. And so sometimes you can actually get parts cheaper with your 10% discount from Porsche direct than you can from the likes of Design 911. So that's always worth considering when you're after parts.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
So yeah, the Porsche, the water pump, I say 350 quid minus the 10%.
Yeah.
But then plus fitting.
Yeah.
And then just a couple of months ago, on a really hot day, I was going up to Warwick to Centre Gravity, and I'll give them a thumbs up as well. I was getting the full suspension just check out. You know, as a
where was this? Where's Centre of Gravity?
Centre Gravity's up near Nuneaton, Atherstone in Warwickshire.
Okay.
All they do is focus on suspension. They do a lot of race setup.
Geometry and setup there for
Yeah,
suspension.
yeah. They've got a really good reputation in the
why? Why did you get that done? What was there something you weren't happy with, or
yeah,
you were just...
I was getting a clonking noise from the rear right hand side of the car, and I just had a feeling, even though Porsche Care had set the geometry up for me after they'd done the front coolant pipes, because you've got to drop the subframe to do those, and the car, you get to know a car more and more as you do track days, and I just had a feeling I was suffering quite a bit of understeer when you're doing the kind of speeds cornering that you are on track, and getting a lot of outside edge of the front tyres wearing down much quicker than the rest of the car, because obviously the car's rolling more. And I just don't think I was getting enough kind of a negative camber on the front setting. So I took it up to Centre Gravity to give it an all-round check. Also, I was also thinking I might want to refresh the suspension, because I've always felt on the 987 base and S, the car looks like, it's purely aesthetics, it's a vanity thing. It just looks like it sits a bit too high. There's like a 4-finger gap between wheel and arch. Nobody likes a 4-finger gap. We prefer a 2-finger gap, which is what the R has got, and the R sits much better.
And I can remember having a conversation with Jace many years ago when he owned a Mitsubishi FTO.
Oh, yeah.
And we used to call that the 4x4 car, because it always seemed to ride really high from its natural sort of stance between the wheel and the wheel arch.
That's right. Yeah.
So you got that, and just again indicative. How much was it for them guys to set up your suspension and things?
That was, I think it was about 250 quid. They did a full. So the car was with them for about 2.5 hours. They did a full suspension survey and inspection. So obviously all visual. Gave everything visuals, but then they also did a shock absorber compression and rebound check on this shaker table thing. Yeah.
All with everything still in situ.
No disassembly at all. Well, they took the little rubber bungs off the tops of the top mount, front strut top mounts, so they could look at those and stuff. But yeah, it was really good, and they've got this incredible Hawkeye laser geometry equipment. So they checked all the geometry, and there were a few parameters that could be optimised. So they did that. There was nothing they could do to give me any more negative camber up front, because this is one of the shortcomings of the Cayman base, base S and R even. You cannot get more than about negative half camber up front. But they could improve the rear toe. And just some minor tweaks on some of the other settings. So they did that, and they gave me a quotation as well for refreshing if I did want to go for the R suspension. I elected not to in the end. They also advised me my front top mounts, my front bump stops could probably do with replacing on a 10-year-old car. Yeah. And they also identified that the knocking noise I was getting was the rear right, what's called coffin arm, lower control arm. Yeah. And that was really apparent when they.
What did they? Have you got that replaced or?
Yeah, so I went back to DS Automotive, my local guy in Aylesbury, and he. So I bought the parts myself. Yeah. I got a Meyle, MEYLE, HD brand set of coffin arms. Yeah. I got some new front and rear anti-roll bar drop links. Yeah. For no particular reason, I've gone for Melee HD on the rear and Lem Forder on the front, or it might be the other way around, can't remember now. And I also went for the Cayman R rear anti-roll bar, and it's
is that a stiffer anti-roll bar?
It's ever it's slightly stiffer, it's slightly thicker.
Okay.
And that was one of the suggestions from Centre Gravity as well, because rather than trying to chase loads of geometry adjustments, perhaps by making the car stiffer and less prone to roll under the kind of speeds on track, then that's going to roll the car less and therefore put it onto the outer edges of the front tyres less.
Okay.
And I got new.
And so, does it? Have you noticed? You've not been on track since, have you?
No, I haven't. So I don't think I'll truly notice it and really feel any difference till I get it on track again. You know, there's always that panacea effect. You've spent money, so you want to feel like or believe there is some improvement. Just on a couple of my local roads that I know pretty well, that I'm quite happy going a little bit quicker down. I do, and it's probably a combination of everything. If I've got new top mounts that are a bit stiffer, and I've got the new coffin arms at the rear and the new anti-roll bar and some bushers on that and drop links, etc., it does just feel a bit more, sharper.
Yeah, sorry about that shaking on the camera. Jason's just doing a sort of outside lane of the M25 check.
So I do. It feels a bit more darty, a bit more agile. So yeah, maybe it has, or maybe I just wanted to believe that it has.
Okay, so that's given, I think, hopefully the viewers are just an indication of what it's like running this this Gen 2, and I think it leads on to the obvious question, I suppose. Now is what next for Cayman? Which 911 do you want to transition to in the future? No, in all seriousness, first of all, is please tell me you're not looking at another Porsche as your next stone. What would your next car be?
What other car is it?
Oh, you're doing exactly what I said. Every Porsche owner does. So, what's your plan? Is it to keep this? Is it to move on to something else? What's your
I go round an eternal loop, but I think I'm coming to a conclusion that probably in about the next 18 months, I want to change it to a new car, and perhaps as much for vanity as anything else.
New or new used?
I want to treat myself. I'm 50 next year. I want to kind of treat myself to that. My 50th birthday. I want that whole experience of picking up a new Porsche. I want to go and pick it up from the factory and do the drive back and do the factory tour and all that sort of stuff.
And which one?
I want to go for the 718 Cayman GTS 4 litre. If hopefully they're still manufacturing and selling that in about 18 months' time. Now, why wait 18 months? Probably financially more than anything else. I don't think I'll be able to afford it before then.
So just indicatively, they resale at...
So I've spec'd one up on the configurator already.
Even though it's 18 months away.
Yeah, but okay, so I think the base price is about 65, 68, something like that, depending on whether you go for manual, PDK, and then you start throwing in a few extras. I mean, the GTS comes pretty loaded anyway with sports exhaust and PASM, Porsche active suspension management, and a few other things. But you spec it up with a few other bits and bobs. You're looking at between 70 to 75, depending on how heavy you go with extras.
So that's one. You've just remembered a question I really wanted to ask. So this is a 6-speed manual that Jace is in at the moment. Yeah. So if you're going to look to step up to a new Cayman GTS, what a great question. 6-speed manual or PDK? Because you look now at, it just seems that every other Porsche now, they all seem PDK. Yeah. Everyone rates PDK, but of all the people that I know, Jace is probably the most hardcore manual person that I know. If it's not got a stick, he's not interested. So don't tell me Porsche are going to move you into a PDK.
If I was walking into a dealership to place an order today, I think I'd still go manual.
Would you?
Yeah. I just love the interaction with it, and it's such an engaging and rewarding gearbox, and the feel of it, the throw and the action of the lever. It's just so satisfying.
And to tell you the truth, Jace, I think financially it's probably the better decision. And let's be fair, you're only 50 next year. Yeah. Flipping heck. I mean, you'd like to think you've got another 20-25 years of driving a stick shift. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how my dodgy hip goes.
And what about I suppose the final question is, going back to one of my early comments about Porsche owners not being able to accept that there's any other marks of sports car that can compare with the queen of sports cars being Porsche. So non-Porsche, if you had something 25k, 30k, which is actually, I mean, in truth, what we're doing in the current market of car market, with values as they are, you must be close to getting back what you paid for this flipping 4 years ago,
yeah, I think so.
which is incredible.
Yeah.
So for 25, 30k, come on, step out of Porsche, or what?
Do you know, I don't actually know what's available in those price ranges because I don't really look.
So
but I mean, in terms of, I don't know.
That is the epitome of a Porsche driver. They don't even look.
Can you get an Audi R8 for 30k?
You need probably 35.
Because I'd love an Audi R8. I just think they sound epic, and whenever I've seen one on a track day, they perform so well. Can you get a Maserati Gran Turismo?
You can. Yes, because I looked at one of those. They've just gone below 20k, or they had done a few months ago.
The kind of newer, pointy, wedgier shape, not the old roundy one.
No. I'm on about these are the Gran Turismo. They've dipped into the high teens for the bottom of the market.
Wow.
So you come, I mean, mid-20s, you're going to get yourself a really nice Gran Turismo.
They just sound unbelievable whenever I've heard them, and I think they look. I mean, they look in black. They look like, I don't know, Batman's weekend car.
For looks alone, and probably sound, because that's got the Ferrari V8 in them, I think. They're the bloody rare, and you've got a Maserati.
Yeah. I think for maybe fun factor, and again, I don't know whether you can get one for the 25 to 30k range you're talking about, but the Renault Alpine.
No chance. No chance. No chance.
Not one of them.
They are too new.
Really?
They're too new, because I mean, new they are 50 something. I think, yeah.
For about 50. For a French Renault.
For a French.
Who the hell would pay 50 grand for a Renault?
This is the epitome of a Porsche owner. He has no concept of values because he doesn't look at any other mark apart from Porsche.
I'm just trying to think. Maybe the Alfa Giulia Quadrifoglio, and go step away from a kind of sports car and just have a performance saloon.
Okay. Not a WRX STI.
That's
hooligan car.
Total hooligan Asbo-mobile, that, isn't it?
That's it. We're going to have a massive argument in a minute. It's something different this week. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative. For all his faults, Jace has got a lot of knowledge on the Porsche, especially the Caymans. So thanks for Jace. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me the thumbs up. Please subscribe and stay tuned, because there'll be another video coming up really, really soon.